All right. Welcome back to the Eric Jr. podcast on this Tuesday night.
Yes, surprise podcast edition. We did not plan to do a podcast tonight.
I would dare to say that I came home to the residence and I told myself, I'm going to need to do a pod tonight about Ben Simmons.
Yeah, it's just one of those days. We should introduce ourselves. I am Chris Lynch. You, of course.
Jacob Klein.
Yeah, we're here. We're the Eric Jr. podcast, in case you haven't noticed. We're here to talk to you about Ben Simmons and just the wildness, the audacity, really, of his actions has led us here today, and to question the entire Sixers organization as a whole.
Look, the Eric Jr. podcast was made in its inception because of the Sixers' chaos and dysfunction. Therefore, what is happening right before our eyes is very on brand.
Yeah.
It's something that hypothetically we've prepared ourselves for.
In theory, we would. This is like kind of our mode, like
our moment.
Yeah, we were born in the darkness, raised in the.
There you go. We got there. But in all seriousness, for our name to be born out of something like that, and here we have a story that has gripped not just sports outlets, but news outlets. I would say not even just in the States, probably internationally. There's this guy who's under contract and he doesn't really like the team and he doesn't want to go there. Nope. And it has the ripple effects, the way it has infested so many different cycles of news and timelines and updates and time.
It's been 4 months of this, and the conclusion is not on the horizon. It is not. We'll get into that later, but it's been a long time we've been dealing with this, and we're just going to keep dealing with it, which is the frustrating part.
I have doubled down on Ben Simmons so many times.
Yep.
Right? This is a man that we saw drafted live at a moment where it truly felt like we had put in the work and we are ready to reap what they have sown.
Yeah.
And I'm speechless, and I don't know if I'm built for what's going to come.
Right.
Because I need the NBA season to start and for this to be a background story that just loses people caring about it because the season has started. That's why I wanted to pod tonight before officially the NBA season starts.
Yep.
Let's make it our effort to limit anything to do with this story until a trade is dealt. And when the trade finally happens, let's not even talk about it.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about it. But I agree with your point. Let's put this kind of nonsense. This is off-season nonsense.
Yes.
This is we can't be doing this, breaking down a Tuesday night game. We can't. I want to. You're right. When the season starts, I want to be all about the season. And I think a lot of people feel that way. So tomorrow night, hopefully the season will get off to a good start. There will be no need to, talk about this until such a time as a trade is made. Unfortunately, that's not the case today. And it puts us in a predicament where we have to talk about our guy, Ben Simmons, your guy, my guy, the guy that we all fell for and who is continually causing problems in the Sixers organization.
Again, a polarizing figure that as a fan of the process and of the team that we have just spent a lot of time defending and relitigating and readjusting our expectations constantly to accommodate. That's a key word that comes up. There was an accommodation. And whether it's Ben believing that he never had the room to grow, or whether it's us in our stalwart belief that he never progressed as a player really, other than maybe defensively after his first year.
Sure.
The one thing that they said out of LSU that he really, struggled with because of effort turns out to be the best thing he's had in the NBA. And he doesn't develop any other part of his game, and that's his story. Maybe he will with the new team. I don't think he will because of the contract situations with other NBA players. It is most likely not something we're going to see goes down until December.
Right. So obviously we're talking about Ben Simmons comes back last week. He hijacked the pod last week by returning in the middle of a game, just showing up at the Wells Fargo Center, expecting to be all right, I'm here, give me my money. Turns out Sixers were not cool with that plan. You can show up, but we're not giving your money until you actually participate.
Ben Simmons with the, oh, okay, yeah, sounds good.
Once he found out that he wasn't going to get his money, started acting up. We've seen a couple of reports of practice the last couple days of, varying degrees of effort, and then today kind of all boiled over.
Was today the cell phone in the pocket thing, or was that yesterday?
That
I
was
can't keep track of the days anymore.
Yesterday, and I don't think it was actually a cell phone. I think
would-
we got it cleared
really?
up that
Did
it was
we?
actually just like a
Good.
jersey.
Good.
And it just looked like a cell phone because it was too. It would have had to been like one of those block.
Even so,
with an OtterBox.
yes,
like
yes. Even so, the body language alone,
yes,
screams out to me, "Get me out of here!" Like it cannot be more explicit.
No, you're right. And today, when Doc Rivers, I'm sure politely and pleasantly asked
Is this
him,
documented? I need this exchange. Is it very short and concise where he says, "Ben, get over here." Ben says no, and he says, "Go
How
home."
does he
Is
say
it
no?
that simple?
How does he say no? Is also, do you say no? No, I'm not gonna do it.
Or did he say nope?
Nah, I'm not doing that. So yeah, Doc promptly like throws him out of practice. Go home, man. And Ben Simmons just like goes home, and that's kind of that. And there was a report that he took the ball with him. I don't know if that.
Stop it! Stop it right now.
He took the ball and they walked out of the arena. But
He took his ball and he went home.
yeah, I think that may
Is
have.
that what you're saying?
I mean, that's basically the essence of what happened. Whether it actually happened or not, I think we can agree that that is the emotion of it. And judging from the reaction of the players and the media availability, they did not seem, one, surprised, and two, troubled by it in any way.
That's exactly
this seemed like a forced marriage. Earlier, before Ben reported, they were saying all the right things. They were doing, I really thought that they were, on the same page and presented like a unified front of like, we want him back. We want him on the team. We're better with him. Today, that kind of all broke when his, involvement turned out to be what it was. I think the players are happy to get him kind of out of there and just focus on the season, which is frustrating, but that's just kind of where it leaves us.
But like, let me just last thing on it. The social dynamic, right?
Yeah.
Of like they come out publicly, they say what you said. They said we support the guy.
Yep.
It's business, but we will have him back here whenever. That usually results in either the guy comes back and is compliant and things gradually, with time, calm down, or that person is not brought back and they are moved very quickly.
Right.
Across leagues, something like this, like regardless of the situation, the person is moved. But neither of those things is happening. So
That's correct.
that's where we find ourselves. And it's before the season. I think it's going to be fine when the season starts. There's going to be so much to talk about with this regular team that the Ben Simmons thing will just be one part of a, 3 or 4 topic worth conversation.
Yeah, I hope so. And on days like today when, NBA Twitter's kind of beating up on your team and you're feeling like, things can't get any worse. It's a circus. It's crazy. I'm always like, who do I blame? And obviously Ben Simmons very clearly deserves a lot of this blame. I want to bring it back to somebody who's I've been very defendant of. I've been a stand for since he got here, Daryl Morey. At this point, I'm not sure what the argument is for saying that he has competently handled this situation. Ben Simmons, after last season, he wanted out. The Sixers fans wanted him out. That seemed like a very easy decision to do. And the fact that he's still on the team for reasons that I can't really understand. What is your take on Daryl Morey's, what is your confidence level in Daryl Morey handling the situation? Because he's had this issue before with star players. He's had problems like this arise. Some people like to quote he's not good at the people part of the job. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, a similar criticism with Hinkie was always the relationships. It's gotten to the point now where Daryl's established such a reputation that he can't ever shy away from when dealing with his peers, that no one wants to really do business. And especially now, I'm sure they're sticking it to him, dude. Yeah. I'm sure every franchise is sending them low balls or just trying to, get his ear, maybe peel off other pieces, and try to convince us that we're not going for a championship. It's tough. I think just the defense that you're going to miss with Ben is so tough. But I think Daryl is going to make the deal whenever we get He's not going to take 50 cents. How about 60? Like he will wait until it's another protected pick. He will wait until it's he will wait until it is not a swindling.
Right.
And he's probably taken too far, but let's see what he gets. It's all about what he gets. We don't know. We don't know what the future could hold for. That's why we're doing it tonight. What if another team starts out like a Portland, like a Sacramento, like a New Orleans? Like we just don't know. Right. There could be more options out there. So
and that's
why we're taking a temperature check right now.
Well, that's what he's hoping for, right? Like and like we heard all the stuff in the offseason. Well, he wants a star. He needs a star back. Like that's like he can't accept something for less than what a star is worth because Ben Simmons is a star, and that's fair. It's gotten to the point though where I'm wondering whether such a hard line has prevented teams from even like beginning the negotiating process. Like
teams not getting in at all because they know they'll get rejected.
Well, when you come in, when a team calls Daryl Morey and he says, "Well, I'll take your 2 best role players and 3 unprotected first round picks." Like a lot of teams are going to hang up on that.
Sure, but is that crazy at this point?
It's not that crazy
to negotiate that down to like 2 first and 2 role players. That seems like there are still GMs that are saying, "We look at the talent here, the talent proposition. If you believe in your organization." Then I think that there is a deal to be had for several GMs. But you're saying that maybe 1 or 2 of those candidates is not even really putting their full weight behind such a move to their owner and their franchise because Daryl Morey is such a high acclimating to what's
it's such a high price. Even Sixers fans were balking at. You're saying CJ McCollum and 3 first round picks is what it needs? Seriously? Like now you're in a position. It seems to me that you've been warding off potential suitors, and now you have to wait. Now you're not in control of it anymore because there are no offers. We've seen reports that a lot of the teams that were mentioned, like a third of the league, they didn't get past the initial stage because of Morey's high asking price. And at this point, I have to wonder whether that was a mistake because you've had to bring Ben back into this. You've created a toxic environment. Now, I think we all like to think that the rest of the team and Doc Rivers can handle it and can kind of weather the storm, but it's not a perfect situation. And you touched on it before. A trade's not on the horizon. Like, it's not coming tomorrow. It's not coming at the end of the week. This isn't going to be a quick resolution. Ben Simmons is going to get paid to go away.
I don't know why you're saying it so definitively. That's why we're talking right now. This goes in 2 directions.
Yes.
This goes in he goes away and they pay him and this thing goes away quietly for a while and then they move him. Or they don't pay him and he continues to act out and it forces itself to at least be something that you have to acknowledge every week outside of a regular basketball team.
I don't see how that's sustainable. I don't see how Doc Rivers wants to do this every third practice, right? Like that doesn't seem functional. That doesn't seem beneficial to anybody. If Ben Simmons is going to act like this, and
they're not going to pay him to stay home, I think is part of what's happening.
Right. That's
what happens then.
It's too a movable object and an unstoppable force. Like Ben Simmons is not going to care. You're not going to make him commit to the team.
The money doesn't make him care.
Well, he's not going to commit to the team. He's not going to put his body on the line like you would expect a normal NBA player to do.
Then he won't get paid, and then that's that.
Well, then what's going to happen then? Because you can't just not pay him.
I don't know what happens then. That's why I'm asking and pontificating here.
Yeah, I don't.
What happens in that scenario where the amount money is being lost?
The only way to do it is you can't have him around the team. That's just, you can't have him around the team.
I think this is a red line in the sand. I think Daryl Morey's like, you come back.
That's a bad red line then.
No, you act like this, then don't come back at all. Then don't come back at all. If you were going to act like this and think that we would still pay you, that was so naive more than anything else that's happened this entire time.
He's not going to come back. He's not going to come back then. He's not.
Sure.
It's over. He's not playing.
Okay, so
I feel so dumb that I even thought
about
the possibility
of
him playing. Like, it's not. He's not coming. He's not practicing again with the team.
What was the point in him coming back?
Because they forced him to, and then he acted like a child. Like, why didn't we predict that? Why didn't no one? I mean, why did no one just he's not going to commit? Obviously,
not commit. No. There's a professionalism aspect, I would argue, and not just that, a self-serving aspect to try to get your trade value up. At a bottom line,
I
work for
don't
you.
think the one Simmons quote of the last 4 months that I agree with is that he reportedly told the Sixers that it's not his job to up his trade value, and I do agree with. That's not his job. Like,
okay.
He doesn't need to.
It seems like a rabbit hole.
It's in his benefit to get traded for the least amount because that team that he's going to will have more to work with. Like,
that's questionable.
That's in
logic.
his
Sure
benefit.
it is. But.
So there's no value for him to like come back and bust his butt and like maybe he'll get traded in 3 months.
Yeah.
Like, it seems to me that it's not. We've reached an end point where one of them is going to have to give. Either Ben Simmons is not going to get paid.
Yes.
Or Sixers management has to realize it's not okay for him to be around a team like this. Like those things have to get reconciled.
So, if
there's no perfect solution.
No. And I'm glad that we kind of are a little bit more animated now because this is truly the end of Ben. Like at any moment he could be dealt. Like the people will be so ready to move on from it that like this is the last time that we'll have really a heated exchange about him as a player, as a value, as a member of the organization. So like. It was good and healthy to do this now.
Right.
And I would just say that I don't think they're going to pay him.
No.
And I don't think he's going to be there.
Well, yeah.
And I think he'll make social media posts, Instagram stories, and interviews maybe. ESPN The Jump or something.
Oh, when he goes on The Jump with
Rachel
Nichols.
That's my prediction.
I
think he's away from the team. We are not paying him. It's a story for a little bit, and it gets mentioned once every 2 weeks. Until December.
That's fine. He just can't be around the team.
So that's me. Is that maybe a path that you see? Or
yeah, I think that's plausible.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't think... It doesn't seem like the Sixers are going to pay him. But...
They're not.
That would be the easiest part. That would be the easiest thing to do. Of
course it would.
It'd be so easy. I don't give a shit about Joshua Harris's money. I don't
Neither
care.
do I, but I don't want Ben Simmons to want it. If it's between Josh Harris and Ben Simmons, I am really conflicted.
I mean, I'm not even conflicted at all. I would so much rather just have Ben Simmons have it.
You know what? I would talk myself into it, and eventually I would arrive there.
I do not care whether Ben Simmons has his money or not. I don't care.
No, completely backed out of it. No, it matters. No, never mind.
Oh, my God.
Don't pay him. Don't pay him.
Line in the sand?
That's a line in the sand.
Line in the sand.
Line in the sand. If he's going to act like that, he could have collected his money and just tried half as much as
because they were going to keep forcing him to do stuff. They were like... It's one thing if...
We were almost out of it.
Yeah, it's one thing if they were like, just report and we'll pay you. No, it's not just report. Okay, just report and practice. No, it's not just that either. They were going to make him talk to the media. They were going to make him play in the games for a team that he doesn't want to play for anymore in front of fans who literally hate him, who will throw stuff and boo and be like, that's not something he's going to want to do.
But the thought process of him, he was going to come back, report, quote unquote, and do the exercise bike for the next 2 months.
Well, whatever, man.
I guess that's what I didn't expect to be the explanation.
Well, that was
the explanation.
That's a breakdown.
We expect to get paid and go on the exercise bike. That's what they should have said.
Yeah, it's a breakdown of communication. Rich Paul and Simmons Camp have really just like it's not good. And this is what brings me back.
It's not good for anybody.
Exactly.
Rich Paul, NBA, Sixers.
Daryl Morey, like that's kind of my point. Bring it back to him. Like this all could have been done with if he just gets traded. If he just gets traded for Malcolm Brogdon and 2 firsts, which is not an unreasonable offer. We're talking about, we're excited for the new season, man. We're getting ready. We're getting juiced. The fan base is reinvigorated. Yeah. Like nobody needs to hate anybody. Like
he's one of the most polarizing, if not the most, even before this, player in the league.
Well, now it's not even polarizing. Now it's despised.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's taken on a new form with this.
Well, because, And in Simmons' mind, he's like, well, if you had just traded me, like, I wouldn't have held out.
Yes. Okay. Congratulations. Like, we have reached the moment in space and time where you look at Daryl Morey and you go, you have officially...
What the hell, man?
No, you have officially fumbled.
Yes.
Because, like, right off the bat, he made some great moves, getting rid of the pieces that didn't fit. And then this was a very time-sensitive thing that he had to take care of as well. It's one of the bigger tests thus far, if not the biggest test.
We can go back. I think we we'd agree, hindsight 2020, he didn't do very well in the deadline either.
No, but sure. I mean, this is such a unique situation. You
Sure.
would say that like 90% of the rest of the NBA has already dealt this guy by now.
Yes.
Of all the organizations that would
Yes.
say we're not getting 50 cents on the dollar.
Right.
Okay, I think that's accurate as well.
I think, and I would argue that that's probably better. If you could have just
Moved on from
negotiated, like engaged with these teams. In Sacramento, we saw, I don't have the report right in front of me, but I believe it was Jason Dumas who said that when Cleveland and Portland and Sacramento, these teams were calling, he wasn't even engaging with them. He was saying, okay, try to get a third team involved because we want a star. Like, that's your best angle. That's your best angle to facilitate a trade, is by getting a third team star involved. Like, that's not good negotiating. And right now, it's a disaster. Because I don't know, he's not getting moved until December, probably. When the rest of the NBA, free agents last year, when they're able to be traded, that's like so long from now. That's so long, Jake.
I don't know. Once the season starts and there's regular news stories and it's the NFL is taken, are we really going to have that much mental capacity left to continue checking in on the story? I don't think so. I think that's why tonight, that's it, man. It's the last time we talk about this dude until he's dealt, regardless of what happens next. He could protest outside of the Wells Fargo Center during games with other NBA players, and I have nothing to say about it until he's dealt.
That's
okay?
fair. No, that's fair.
So that's that. Okay, if you want to talk about Doc Rivers, if you want to talk about Joel Embiid, say your piece on both of them regarding this situation.
Okay, I think Joel Embiid let off a little steam today. Frustrating offseason for my guy. Finally, just is washing his hands of the situation, and I think that's good. On the eve of the season, he doesn't have to worry about this anymore. Now, we'll see what happens in the Sixers games, because I don't know if I've mentioned this before. They don't have a point guard, but I think that may cause some problems. I think Joel's efficiency might look a little wonky now, but I'm glad that he's probably just a little bit more comfortable. I think that's probably good.
And I think has handled it about as well as you could have hoped. No?
I agree. For someone who gets hit a lot with the immaturity thing, I thought he's handled this really well.
Yeah, his growth, God, compared to the other man in the conversation, it is the exact opposite of the spectrum. It truly is, and there's no other way to put it in terms of developing and growing as a man, as a person, really.
Wow.
I know he's older, but
right.
Regardless. Doc Rivers.
Doc Rivers. My thing with Doc Rivers is I wasn't sure he was the guy when they hired him. Obviously, he was great in the regular season. I think he left a lot of points on the board in the playoffs. I think his rotations were pretty unspectacular. I'm worried about him checking out mentally with this team. I'm worried about him just
that's a strong
it's just
take.
too much. It's just too much.
You don't think he wants that other ring somehow? To
I don't think he wants it that much.
His playoff reputation of having crumbled every year other than the Celtics.
Yeah,
literally every year other than that. You don't think? I mean, that's a big accusation.
I agree. I think
Embiid, a generational player.
I think you get diminishing return. I think if the Sixers go in to the season as a 6th seed, yeah, man, I think he's gonna check out a little bit.
Okay.
I don't think he's gonna be as engaged. I think you're getting diminishing returns from him. If you're not at the top of your game, I think you're getting diminishing returns from Doc Rivers. And also, I just want to shoehorn this in. I know it's when he came in, he was he handles stars. He handled. This is the guy. This is the guy who can handle stars. He's handled things before. What stars has he handled? Are you kidding me? Paul George or
the Clips history, but that's completely different. And that would be such a selling point of his, where it's
Paul George
really?
hated him. They hated each other. Chris Paul and Blake Griffin, they all hated each other. Like, none of those teams succeeded.
Those teams were also supposed to do great things. They
Yes.
were all projected to win the title or be right in the mix, and they never really were able to outside of one Spurs series in the Clippers case with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin.
Yeah.
And
that was in the first round.
Yeah, I mean,
So I
I'm
think
just saying that's part of his.
Doc Rivers gets a little bit of a pass that he shouldn't. He
This
did not handle the Simmons stuff very well. I think if we're doling out blame besides Simmons, if we're like excluding Simmons and then doling out who gets blame, I think Doc Rivers gets a fair share. I think his inability to, functionally use Ben Simmons, knowing that he's not the guy in the fourth quarter, like finding ways for him to contribute that don't include him having the ball.
Yeah,
That's a major issue for him.
Even if it was a drastic lineup change as compared to the regular season.
Nope.
Something that completely against his MO that would have created opportunities for Ben.
Nope.
With more space, like completely switching it up. Didn't see any of that.
I'm like, and then I tweeted this earlier. Him gluing Isaiah Joe to the bench this season is probably going to be the final straw for me. In the Doc Rivers, when he, and it's coming.
It's good you're getting it out now.
It's coming, Jake. It's coming. Isaiah Joe, less than 7 minutes per game this season.
Yeah.
Collision course, man. Like, you gotta just mentally. I'm prepared,
dude.
But it's gonna be the straw that breaks the camel's back for me with Doc. I'm gonna need a new coach after that.
These are some big time takes. These are big takes. He brought his big boy pants. Bro.
I'm just saying.
I could totally see this. The thing about this season is everything is in jeopardy. Like Doc being fired at the end of this year or leaving, like it's not. I know he signed that 5-year deal, I think, but like
I don't know.
Who knows? There's definitely a way to get out of it. I mean, I could totally see him leaving.
We've seen Daryl Morey do the cut and run before.
Of course. Yo, literally, can you imagine? Oh, God, would that be bad? What if this made him leave? Can you imagine?
What if he just quit tomorrow? That's what I would do.
That would be the wildest thing.
Yeah.
Now, that would overtake, like, sports fandom. Or just people. That would literally, people would be like, this guy is, he can't do this.
Well, he wouldn't get it. Yeah, he wouldn't get it a very good job after that. But, Doc Rivers, man, he still got that cachet from that 2008 series where they literally went to 7 games in every single series. Like they were so close. They were so close to blowing that. They had by far the most talented team.
Dude, if he doesn't get that one, he becomes the most.
He's out of the NBA. Like he's not coaching in the NBA.
Yeah, he doesn't get that many chances.
No,
you're right.
No.
So
he doesn't get. He's in with the Clippers for 8 years, whatever it was. Like
yeah,
that was
crazy.
It
was a long time. So
I hope he's not here for 8 years, man. I can't
he's
take.
never unless we win a championship.
Right.
Be,
well, then I'll be here forever.
If he gets it in year let's say not this year, but literally next year somehow it happens, he would stay here until he retires. I think.
Yeah, probably.
That was the idea. Maybe when he signed, I was like, dude, this guy could win here. Retire. Like that was a legit with our prospects. But listen. We got some other stuff to talk about. We got to talk Sixers, the rest of the people on the team, some positivity.
We got to bring
something
some
other than Isaiah Joe because I feel like that's the only good thing, and we're milking it for all it's worth.
And
like, we can't wring any more out of the towel.
It's a poisoned goblet. We're gonna when he's not playing, it's gonna be a disaster.
Right.
And those 5-minute spurts where he just misses everything is just that's just gonna make it hurt even more.
That's just gonna make it.
So we gotta look at hit me with some other rest of the team, rest of the NBA. I don't even care. Give me some other positives to look forward to. As we round out our Sixers talk.
I am genuinely so interested to see Joel Embiid with literally surrounded by shooters and Niang at the 4.
Yeah,
like an actual stretch big.
Yep.
And then 3 dead-eye shooters. If it was like Danny, Furk, and Seth even, just for spurts. That would be, we have never seen that much space with actual all guys that are I'm talking those 3 guys. Those are some lethal shooters. We've got shooters with a capital S. Isaiah Joe not even being mentioned yet.
Right.
So that's something that's foreign, and maybe it's a little bit under-discussed with the makeup of the team. You also have to consider it's not as many moving pieces as years past where there are, Ben's out, but that's really the only big variable because they have Furkan returning, they have Danny returning, they have Seth returning, they have Tobias returning. I mean, that some of the continuity and the timing and the spacing does matter. So I would say underselling that a little bit, and just the idea of Joel with shooters and Niang at the 4. Niang already talked about it a little bit.
I think Niang as the perfect backup 4 that's going to bring me a lot of joy. I think that's going to be a really pleasant, like, he just comes in, hits a couple buckets, like, steadies the second unit.
Yes.
That's been something I know Sixers fans have been kind of, like, in the trade machining, like Rudy Gay, like, it was supposed to be Wilson Chandler. Remember that?
Yeah.
How that whole debacle.
What about him and Drummond, though? If Doc's going to play Drummond.
He's going to play Drummond. He's going to play Drummond every minute.
But Niang has a real, like, it's kind of like it makes too much sense to be like, this could be amazing. He could outplay Tobias Harris sometimes. Like, he could,
yes.
If he's firing from three and he comes up with some big buckets like late in the game, he could literally be having more of an impact, I think, than a guy in Tobias who kind of just like fills it up for 18 to 20 general points, mid-range, maybe getting to the line once or twice and like layups and dunks. I mean, he's not offering you that much offensive punch. So Niang is just like so fascinating to me. I think he can play with Drummond.
He's going to, Drummond, now that Ben Simmons is out of the equation, I think we can agree makes a little more sense as the backup center, right?
Yes.
Like, having a normal point guard quotation marks, not going to go there. He should, and he's looked very good in the preseason, I'll say. He's looked very efficient, like, can use his body a little bit. He'll be Dwight without all the nonsense, without all the offensive and defensive fouls, right? Like, that's a good player. That's a good backup center. Andre Drummond, I mean, like, 18 months ago was like, he's like a starter in the NBA. Surefire, no question. Like, he's probably still got a little bit left in the tank. Him, Niang, the second, Korkmaz, like, the second unit will be pretty good. That is what's going to have to save the Sixers, I think. I think the second unit is going to be very important in just setting the tide in a lot of games because we're not going to have a lot of control. It's going to be very dependent on shooters and, Joel getting him going. So I think the second unit, those three guys in particular, are going to play a major, major role in the Sixers' success.
I think truly, as a fan, it is just going to be fascinating to see those types of players with Joel Embiid. Embiid's MVP level 4.
Yeah, we've never seen Joel without Simmons for an extended period of time.
Right.
That'll be interesting. It's always, it's always Embiid missing a lot of the games. It's going to be interesting to see how that affects Joel, how it affects the team. Do teams start doubling him more aggressively, even tripling as we saw at some points?
Or does the opposite possibly happen?
Right.
Because there's more space, and it's harder for those guys to close out to the guy on the three-point line instead of in the dunker spot.
Maybe.
All of that is on the table, I think. I have no idea, like you said. I think that's absolutely, if they can take Joel out of the equation, well, what happens when the supporting cast and the space resembles that of a free-flowing offense?
Yeah. No, that's totally good point. Good point. I just as you were saying that, I'm just like, man, Malcolm Brogdon.
Sure. That one stings a little bit because the idea of him in 2 first is like literally it's so perfect. Like it satisfies. You're never gonna get.
If you can talk yourself into the Sixers this season, like Malcolm Brogdon would have been good.
And really just some more assets in the holster. Yeah. Because I don't know I have no idea what Ben Simmons' trade value is, but some other NBA teams are going to find out in about a week, 10 days, that they don't have it this year.
That's true.
And everything changes. Once a team realizes they go from potential to reality. Yeah. Who knows what is out on the horizon.
There's half a dozen teams out there that'll start that are expecting to make the playoffs. That won't, that'll, come out of the season looking real flat. Pieces are wonky. Pieces don't fit. It'll be interesting to see.
Last thing. This timeline from when Ben Simmons asked for a trade until now, it was not linear. There were very important pockets immediately after trying to get him off and unload this and be done with it. Or like prior to free agency or around that or draft sometime, and it never materialized.
No, there was never a concrete situation where you felt like it was imminent.
And these lulls of there is no time to even negotiate because no one is having a serious conversation. We're in one of those lulls now. We'll see if it picks back up. That's why the other team's starting. Something has to break our way in another organization. Something has to meet the moment that we currently find ourselves in mirrored way for another team where they realize something has to change. We need a big name. We need some juice.
Yeah.
We need regular season wins. Whatever it might be.
Right.
And we're at that moment.
No, I agree. One way or another, it's going to come to a head. I'm buckled up. I'm strapped in for the long haul. I think you are too. I hope the Sixers organization is as well. If not, they're getting kind of like that mentality right now, I imagine.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be in for the long haul. Shall we move to greener pastures?
Yes. Great transition.
And by greener, I of course mean Eagles green, not necessarily better, but Eagles took a tough L last Thursday. We talked about it we previewed it last pod. What did you expect? What did you think of the game in terms of what you were expecting?
I mean, the score would have you indicate that it was pretty darn close. Unfortunately.
Those things can be misleading, can't they? Those scores.
Pretty deceiving.
Yeah. That was a tough game. Tough first half.
Tough Jalen Hurts game.
Yeah.
Tough everything. The defense, surprisingly, didn't roll over.
Fairly, yeah.
That was the thing I was looking for.
They had a couple opportunities too, and the fact that they hung tough is a testament to them.
And I talked about that before, the idea of Cowboys. Now we're talking getting blown out again by the Bucks after having it done by the Chiefs. I mean, they hung in there. 28 points, maybe it was 31, depending on if they would have scored there at the end to ice it. But that's not that crazy. That's not total embarrassment. And the offense, too, Jalen Hurts, I think he's revealed himself. We'll see what the rest of the season holds. But they're 2-4. They're through the worst of their schedule.
This was a game where kind of the people who are out on Jalen Hurts felt really confident in their decision.
Yeah.
This was a really tough game for Jalen Hurts. He missed a lot of throws. He did not, in the first half, did not look like a competent cornerback at all. Couldn't get anything going. And we've talked about the whole Sirianni-Hurts dynamic. Can you evaluate one without the other? Can you separate them? Well, this was a case where you could tell that what Sirianni was doing wasn't working, 100%, while also seeing, wow, Jalen Hurts has a lot of limitations. Wow, he's really missing some open passes here. He's leaving a lot of plays on the field. And that's what you don't want. And that's a quarterback with Jalen Hurts' talent level with pretty mediocre arm talent, you can't leave plays on the field like that. You got to take them when they're there. And if he's not doing it, then he's not an asset to your team.
Really well said. And I'll say this, they are still a roller coaster if they could somehow take care of business this week, and they're 3-4.
3-4 sounds so much better than it's been, right?
Yes. 3-4 versus 2-5 is a world of difference, dude. I'll be honest, I don't want to be a homer or anything. I think they can pull it out this week. Jalen Hurts bouncing back this week for 2 passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, and a squeaker 24-21 win. That's massive. Him bouncing back, yes. In theory, right? If the whole entire year is his audition.
Just for saving the season.
Stemming the tides.
From being, keeping the season relevant.
Yeah.
Because if it continues to look like it did on Thursday night, it's not going to, fans are going to lose interest. People are going to be done with Jalen Hurts. And maybe Sirianni, we'll get to that later, though. But I think we can agree Jalen Hurts has this one season. He's got one season to prove to the Eagles that he's worth building around.
And his audition is about to be almost halfway up.
Right. We're closing in on he's running out of time. Now, when we go to the other side of the ball, I think Jonathan Gannon, who was under a lot of pressure last week, and scrutiny, rightfully so, really had himself a really good game. I thought the defense, like you said, stood really tall in moments where I was convinced that they were just gonna I almost said the Patriots that the Bucks were just gonna keep chewing up yards, getting touchdowns. The defense held up their end of the bargain, and that's kind of the frustrating part where Jalen Hurts comes in and is just not able to do what he needed him to do.
So the question is, are they sellers at the deadline? The question is like,
Well,
is this team worth like devoting really any energy to? Because it's
Right.
not even like you're investing and being like, well, this is our new guy. Like I want to see his full first year. It's like we don't even know if this is a guy, either of them. So it's like
Either of them.
I don't even know if I need to watch this really, depending on how everything goes. But then again, a win of 3 and 4. And you're just sitting there and you're saying, listen, man, week
3
by
and
week,
4
week
is
by week. We
much
got
better.
Detroit coming up. We could be 4 and 4. Come on.
if they're 4-4,
Dude,
in week 9,
I will not. No, I will not flip all the way. I promise you. I'm saying right now, if they are 4 and 4, I will not completely lose my mind.
The unfortunate thing is that the Cowboys unfortunately seem to be good. There's not much we can do about that.
They're a better team, so they won't win it all. So it's all good.
They're running away with the division.
Sure.
It's not like last year where even though the Eagles started out so poorly, you could talk yourself into making the playoffs. A couple more losses, and that reality is going to be pretty unlikely.
Well, let's just maybe be in a weird way, even though we hate the Cowboys, at least the narrative of the NFC least, or just like that we're so bad. Like, we know we're bad. You know? 3 of the 4 of us.
It's not our fault that the other 3 teams are bad.
3 of the 4 of us are always going to be bad. But this year we have a good one, so no talking about how bad the division is, because you can just say, look at those Cowboys. You know, look at them running away with the NFC East. You know, so that's it. Okay, that's the positive spin. Don't talk about the NFC East being bad anymore, okay, haters? Tired of the East Coast bias.
Yeah, East Coast. Here. Yeah, well, okay.
And Texas.
Yeah, and Texas, weirdly enough. To what you mentioned earlier about being buyers or sellers, Eagles getting a head start on that. I came out of nowhere, trading Zach Ertz to the Arizona Cardinals. What did you take of that? What did you think of that?
I was pleasantly surprised at the haul. And overall just surprised that he was moved. I thought that maybe they had already put the feelers out for contenders. I didn't know how many suitors were possible for a guy like Zach Ertz. Maybe, the Bills, they seem to like their guy Knox. But I'm happy for him because that's a legit contender, and he can have an actual, they're already undefeated. But, he can add a real dimension to their red zone offense, I think, just having a really trustworthy target to go alongside. Zach Ertz has never played along a wide receiver as good as DeAndre Hopkins before.
No, and
nor
for a quarterback as talented as
sure
the one they got over there.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm just saying.
I agree. I'm just saying.
That will be a lot of fun. Obviously, Arizona, the only undefeated team left in the league. Talk about their haul a little bit. They get cornerback Tay Gowan and a 5th-round pick, which is not what you could have gotten for Zach Ertz had they moved him a couple of seasons ago, maybe. But for what he is now, kind of like, 2nd, 3rd tier tight end, not the guy anymore, clearly, for the Eagles. Not the worst haul in the world.
No, and some people were talking about how the compensatory pick would have been maybe around the same range.
Yeah, 5th or so.
But, to have him go somewhere where, first of all, great weather, great team, great organization overall.
Yeah.
So I think that was also factoring into it. And a project cornerback who, opted out and has decent size, that plus a 5th-round pick, I think that's totally fine. It just across the board, it's got unanimous approval over here.
And how we said this after the trade was made, they made it the Friday after the game. There were kind of reports that he was going to get traded after the game. You saw him being emotional on the field. I thought that was interesting the way they handled it. And clearly for Howie, it was important that they kind of send him to a contender, to somebody who is going to have a chance to win, play some games in December and January. I love that for Zach. He is an all-time great Eagle. Obviously, he won the Super Bowl. Like he caught the ball that was the winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. He will never, ever be forgotten in the city. I hope the best for him in Arizona.
Yeah. Just thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man.
And
8 really good, I remember when he was drafted, I was like, oh, man, okay. And then every year he got better.
Yep.
For the first 5 years, every year he just took another step and another step and another step. And he just, transformed himself into one of the most reliable pass catchers when the Eagles had nothing else. They had no other options in terms of pass catching. He was the guy that helped to hold it down, hold down the passing game for almost a decade, man. Shouts out to Zach Ertz, man.
So, leaving behind Dallas Goedert, who we'll see what happens with him and with this team, with his contract, and what the future really holds for everybody involved. But yes, thank you, Zach Ertz. This Philadelphia Eagles team, however, is in danger of losing this game and like things really just taking a nosedive.
Yeah,
we're on the verge of like, okay, the season is officially lost.
Right. And a lot of people have already kind of started the draft. The draft pick watching. It's too early. I agree. I mean, we got 11 more weeks. Jesus Christ, this season's going to go on forever. That extra week is really going to do me in.
Yeah.
Come December. But Miami 1-5, get that pick. The Colts get a win. Carson Wentz looks good. That's something. You know me. That's the second round pick for me.
Sure.
That's a second round pick.
I know.
We can't call it anything else.
Hey.
But
yeah, my word.
It's looking good. And the Eagles will obviously have like a mid to early first round pick. Seems like that draft's looking pretty appetizing, I'll say.
Sure. The treasure chest looks nice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you still want to be able to fill out a team, but without having the most important piece,
right,
you're going to be spending all that capital on maybe not
a quarterback.
Not even acquiring several positions of need, which this team desperately needs. We have been waiting for a draft haul of this quantity to be able to really plug some holes that have been
safety,
glaring.
Cornerback, defensive line, linebacker,
just to name a few.
Just to name a few. And quarterback, of course.
We'll see. Too far to even think about that. The story going into this week is Jalen Hurts bounce back ? And Nick Sirianni, are you just somebody who doesn't belong here? I'm thinking of the
he's got a problem on his hands. If Hurts can't do the simple things that he's asking him to, I don't know how he can improve the offense.
Or if he's realized that whatever he thought would help Hurts get into the rhythm and help the offense is not working and he's not adjusting.
You got to do something else.
Then it's a existential threat to his coaching ability and his credibility and just everything. If he can't kind of figure it out the next couple weeks against subpar competition, it's going to be bad.
Yeah, I agree. Eagles, obviously, they have Vegas this weekend. A Vegas team, of course, that is in a bit of turmoil themselves.
No.
We'll see what happens next week. Do you have any? We do have one more team to talk about. That's the Philadelphia Flyers. They snuck up on us. Their season started. Hey, guess what? They won the other day, 6-1. How about that? Beating up on the new guys in the NHL, the Seattle Kraken, winning 6-1.
6 goals.
I mean,
can't remember
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that many goals. You'd have to watch 3 Flyers games last year to see that many goals. The season obviously starting. Optimism is in the air. Cam Atkinson looks like a great addition to the team. I'm excited about the Flyers. They've had this kind of in-between energy for maybe 12 years now. But, it's always a question of if they can get hot, if the defense can get right, if the goalie can get right. If you can get all those things, it's only a matter of time, man. And I, for one, am optimistic of Flyers. They're in a really tough division, but I think they got a chance. They got a fighting chance.
Yeah, they really mirror the Phillies in a lot of ways, and that their division is way better than them, and that they're just not gonna. There are other teams in it. The Nationals just won. It feels like everyone from our division, Capitals, have just gone on their run. They're like the Nationals who got theirs, and then we got the Braves right now on the precipice of being in the World Series. So here we sit, but these Fly guys probably could sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah,
it's just all about getting into the playoffs, being in the mix at the end. They're gonna have to win a lot of games in this division to keep up, But I do think that they can maybe make the playoffs. The Atkinson for Voracek thing was completely under the radar, dude.
Yeah.
I feel like Voracek was here for a long time. I feel that was very significant, and it was definitely time for those types of changes in the Flyers organization.
I think it was 11 years that he was here. I think it was in 2010 he was acquired.
So if it wasn't going to be Giroux, that's a big guy who was a part of the organization for over a decade moving. Those are the types of moves that a team like this needs. It's been in such a repetitive, irrelevant status.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And with that season starting, hopefully they can kind of grab some of that legitimacy and move forward. We saw it a couple years ago, but Hopefully they can sustain it this year.
It's lightning in a bottle with the NHL. Like,
Yeah,
you can
that's
just
true.
get hot, sneak in the playoffs, and you're hot when you go in. Literally anything can happen. More than any other sport.
Yeah, I agree.
I think so.
I agree. You have anything else on the fly, guys?
No.
Okay, let's get out of here. But first, one last thing. We got to give a special shout out to Kalia Cooper, the WNBA Finals MVP from right here in Philadelphia. I mean,
Hey.
her and the Seattle Sky, massive Finals win 4-1 over the Phoenix Mercury. Jake's Phoenix Mercury, if you remember from the preseason predictions pod, you picked the Mercury. I gave you a couple choices. You picked them. Come up a bit short, but I mean, Candace Parker, Chicago Sky, shout out to Kalia Cooper. You've done us proud. All right, let's get out of here, Jake. This has been the UJP. See you next time.